Hi everyone, I'm Cheryl and welcome to the Sewing Room channel, and this is your tip of the week. I'm going to give you some suggested methods for making a ruffle. There's so many different ways to make one. This one here is where you see the pretty side of the fabric on the front of the pillow. But on the back side of the pillow, you're seeing the not so pretty side of the fabric here. So what I did was I hemmed this. I rolled the edges over twice and pressed and then stitched it down. So it looks nice from the front. This isn't my preferred way, so let me show you another way. This particular method, you're going to see the pretty side of the fabric no matter which side you're viewing the ruffle on. So it doesn't matter if you're putting it on a pillow or on a piece of clothing or anything else. So whenever you make a ruffle, you want to cut your fabric length 1.5 times to 2 times the number of inches or feet you need your ruffle to be. So it's going to be extra long. Then you can cut that any width you want. So this is only maybe 2.5 inches wide. So then you would fold it in half and press the full length of your fabric strip. So to manually gather the fabric up, that means you're doing it by hand. You would do a large basting stitch. You need to lengthen your stitch to about 10 in length, and that's the number that will be on your sewing machine. And you're going to use a method of taking your top thread after you've done it, you hold the end of the thread, and then you begin to just push the fabric together until it gathers up. And usually what I do is I will push the gather from one end, then I'll go to the opposite end of the fabric, pick up the top thread, and gather it towards the center on the other way. Now this method is one of my favorite ways to make a ruffle. I think it looks really pretty. So if you want your ruffle to really stand out and bring out specific colors in whatever it is you're making, this is a great way to do it. So what I've done is I have a narrower strip of fabric that's yellow, and then this piece of fabric is wider than this. That's because this fabric is going to become the border, and it will also wrap around to the back side and make it look nice. So what you do is you bring front sides together and stitch along here, and then open it up and press the fabric. Then you turn the fabric over and then fold it in half like this and press again, and then you have a border. Then you would just put your gathering stitches on there, or excuse me, your basting stitch, and gather it up. Manually gathering the fabric up is very tedious, and there is a presser foot that you can purchase to put on your machine that does it for you. And this little foot will not only gather your fabric, but let's say you want to have some fabric to where you have your ruffle attaching. So you can place your ruffle on the edge of the fabric, use this, and it will gather the ruffle and stitch it on to another piece of fabric. So if you're interested in viewing that method and seeing how that works, I'm going to have a link down below your YouTube screen, and it's about making a gathered skirt, but it'll show you that method that I'm talking about, putting a ruffle together and attaching it to something else. This is a great little presser foot. So make sure you check out that link below your YouTube screen in the description section. I'm going to talk a little bit about rag quilting. And rag quilting means that the edges of your quilt and your seams look very ragged, and it's meant to be that way. And there's many different types of fabrics that you can use in it. Of course, one way is using quilting fabric, which is what all this is. And then another method is using flannel. I actually like flannel a lot because it fluffs up really well. But you can combine your quilting fabric with flannel fabric if you like. It just depends on what your preferred method is. So basically what rag quilting is you take multiple layers of fabric, like I've got 4 layers here, and you stitch them together to another square of 4 layers of fabric. So all in all, in that seam, you'll have 8 layers of fabric. You don't have to use 4 layers. When I'm using flannel, sometimes I just use 2 layers. It just depends on what you do. So here's the fabric on top that I've selected. In here, I have a deep purple and an orange. So I've selected 2 fabrics. One is purple, one is orange, and they're a solid. And the reason why I like solids is when the seams go to ruffle up or rag up, the colors show really well. If you select fabrics that have a lot of white in it, but it's a print, it's going to look white when you're done. You're not going to see much of the print. So here is the fabric I'm going to put on the back side, underneath. And I'm going to put the pretty side of that fabric down. So now you're looking at the back, the not so pretty side of the fabric. Then my next 2 layers are solids. Here's the orange, and then here is the purple. And then this one, for the top, you have the pretty side up. So you have multiple stacks. So you've got all your stacks of fabric. Then you're going to take those stacks, bring back sides together of each stack. So you see this side bringing them together. So here's a small sample of a rag quilt. This is all quilting fabric. It's the same fabric you just saw. So as you can see, I stitched the squares together. So this is what it would look like on the back. But on the front, it looks like this, but it won't look like this until you do some clipping around the edges and the seams. So before you clip your seams, you want to make sure you go to the outer edge and stitch 1/2 inch from the outer edge, because you're going to clip these edges. And if I didn't mention, my seams in here are 1/2 inch wide seams. These are rag shears. They are specifically designed for doing rag quilts. They are extremely sharp. And the problem with this one is that the lock broke on it, so if I let go, it opens up. So I put a rubber band around it to keep it closed. But you can get these on Amazon.com, and you can also go to Etsy.com. You might find them at Joann Fabrics and Crafts. I can't remember if that's where I got mine, but I'm almost positive I got them on Amazon. So what you do is, to go along the edges, you go in and you clip up to your stitch line. And you move over less than 1/4 of an inch. So they're pretty narrow. You keep going along and clipping. Then, to do your seams, you can either do part of the seam on one side, but what I do is I fold it like this, then take my shears in and clip. Now, I'm going to be very honest with you. My husband did all the clipping for me because my hand cramps up and gets really tired. So he does it. After you do all your clipping, then you throw it in the washing machine and put it in the dryer. You don't want to wash it with other clothing because it will get covered with fabric threads. You don't want that. Make sure you check your dryer every 15, 20 minutes to clean out the filter, because Depending on the kind of fabric you use, it can get clogged up pretty fast. Quilting fabric, not so bad. But if you use flannel, it fills up really fast. This is a baby quilt made out of only 2 layers of flannel. And you can see how much this fluffs up. But again, with flannel, you need to check your dryer frequently because it will clog up. So I'm going to have the links to do 2 different types of rag quilts. They don't have to be squares. One is long strips of rectangles using denim fabric. And then, of course, you'll see this particular one. On this one, I have a super easy process of making this quilt. You don't cut any squares out. It's a completely different method. I think you'll find it really kind of a slick method of making a rag quilt. So I'll have those links below your YouTube screen. Now, one of the things I forgot to mention about rag quilts, when you're stitching them together, make sure you're using a walking presser foot because you will have multiple layers of fabric. A regular presser foot will make your fabric pieces shift, and this won't. So make sure you use a walking presser foot. Well, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and that you learned something new. Make sure you check out those links. I think you'll find it very interesting to see how easy it was to put this one together, and you can use it on all of your different rag quilts. Also, check out the link on using that presser foot for making your ruffles. Also, make sure you follow me on Instagram and check out my Facebook page. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time, and happy sewing. If you like the Sewing Room channel, one of the best ways to show your support is to subscribe by clicking on that red subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. And don't forget to click on share to share this video with your friends. And make sure you click on the bell so you receive notifications for all my new videos. I'm Cheryl, this is Manny, and this is Scotty. See you next time.